While probability now points to D.B. Cooper's death, without hard evidence, many people today still believe that he survived.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 creepiest disappearance stories.
It's a loss without closure, with plenty of clues, but no resolution.
It is a real mystery. 1 minute she's here, 1 minute she's not, and there's just so many theories.
He had been claimed by the sea he knew and loved.
For this list, we're looking at the scariest, most disturbing stories about people who disappeared. However, we'll be avoiding cases involving minors and large-scale disasters. Which of these stories scares you the most? Let us know in the comments. Number 10. He Jiankui. In November 2018, this Chinese biophysicist made world headlines when he announced he'd created the first genetically edited human babies.
I understand my work will be controversial, but I believe family need this technology.
His claim was met with widespread condemnation due to serious ethical issues with his experiment. His research was suspended, he was fired from Sustech, and then he disappeared.
He was last seen at the Human Genome Editing Conference in Hong Kong on Wednesday. The South China Morning Post reports that the researcher's employer is dismissing claims he was detained.
In December, it was reported that he was sequestered in an apartment under guard. In December 2019, it was announced that Jiankui had been sentenced to 3 years in prison. But there remain unanswered questions regarding his whereabouts and well-being.
It's game over for He Jiankui, who thought he could tweak life and get away with it.
Number 9. Lauren Spearer. In 2011, 20-year-old Lauren Spearer was attending Indiana University and studying textiles merchandising. On the night of June 2, 2011, Spearer went out with some friends to Bloomington's Kilroy Sports Bar. She left the bar around 2:30 a.m. and was last seen leaving a friend's apartment at 4:30. She remains missing to this day.
The latest images come from a security camera, according to the authorities. Here's one of them, which police say shows Lauren just hours before she disappeared.
Various theories have been put forth, including abduction and a fatal overdose, as Spearer had reportedly consumed alcohol and drugs.
One theory is that Lauren was kidnapped by a biker gang after collapsing in the street on the way to her apartment.
Despite thousands of tips and attempts by police to tie her disappearance to other crimes in the area, Lauren Spearer's whereabouts remain unknown.
I really just would like to hear this is where you can find your daughter. It's the not knowing what happened to her, where she might be, or, it's unbearable.
Number 8. Lars Mittank. One of the strangest and creepiest stories involving a disappearance has to be that of 28-year-old German man Lars Mittank. In June 2014, Mittank was vacationing at Bulgaria's Golden Sands seaside resort with friends. When it was time to leave, Mittank was left in the country owing to a ruptured eardrum, which prevented him from flying. He checked into the Hotel Color Varna by himself, where he reportedly began to act paranoid. He even called his mother and told her that 4 men were looking to get rid of him. The last time anyone saw Mittank, he was running through Varna Airport in fear, hopping a fence and fleeing into the nearby woods. He hasn't been seen since. The source of his fear and his current whereabouts remain unknown. Number 7. Maura Murray. On February 9, 2004, Murray, a nursing student at the University of Massachusetts Amherst, emailed her professors claiming there'd been a death in the family.
It is a real mystery. 1 minute she's here, 1 minute she's not, and there's just so many theories.
Her parents have since stated that no such death occurred. She looked into hotels in Vermont, loaded her car with clothing and toiletries, and packed up her belongings in boxes. After leaving campus, she purchased alcohol and withdrew $280 from an ATM. Murray crashed her car around 7 p.m. that night, and when police arrived at 7:45, she was nowhere to be found.
There was no injury, so they searched on foot and in vehicles. Basically what they were looking for was a person walking or B footprints in the snow. They found none.
The responding officer found a few suspect items in the car, including driving directions to Vermont and blank accident report forms. Of Murray herself, there was and has been no trace.
That's all I have left is the public, because I'm not getting any help anywhere else. I'm asking for help for my daughter.
Number 6. The Springfield 3. This missing persons case, in which Cheryl Levitt, Stacy McCall, and Susie Streeter all disappeared, has remained unsolved since 1992. The story begins at Levitt's home in Springfield, Missouri, where the women spent the night after attending high school graduation parties.
The girls leave the party just after 2 a.m. Cops believe Stacy and Susie walked through the front door of Cheryl's house on Delmar Street about 15 minutes later. That's where the mystery begins.
When a friend arrived at the house the next morning, all three were missing, despite their cars being parked outside.
Authorities say there was no sign of a struggle. In fact, the front door was unlocked, the TV was on, their clothes were still there, their purses and personal items untouched.
The friend found a broken porch light, and she reportedly received an obscene phone call while there. Levitt's dog was also visibly agitated. When McCall's mother later arrived to investigate, she found a, quote, strange message on the answering machine, but this was accidentally deleted.
It was a brief call, and the person didn't identify themselves. It was a male voice that made sexual innuendos, and she hung up and immediately received a second call with also making sexual overtones.
Unfortunately, the crime scene was so badly contaminated that it prevented a proper investigation.
But until then, these families will continue to live one day at a time, hoping for the best, but knowing the worst could be just around the corner.
Number 5, Rebecca Corium. When this 24-year-old British woman disappeared the morning of March 21, 2011, she was working for the Disney Wonder cruise ship.
The ship set sail from Los Angeles on Sunday, March the 22nd for the Mexican Riviera. The alarm was raised last Tuesday when she failed to turn up for her shift. The following day, the vessel docked in Puerto Vallarta, and the Mexican Navy and U.S. Coast Guard were deployed to search the seas.
Corium was last seen on CCTV footage talking to someone on one of the ship's internal phones at 5:45 a.m. She was clad in extra-large clothing and appeared visibly distressed by the call. She hung up, walked away, and was never seen again. Investigators believe that Corium went overboard, but how she went overboard remains a mystery. Some believe she jumped. Others believe she was pushed by a rogue wave, and her parents believe she was thrown into the ocean.
Very, very little information comes back to us as to what the investigations found out. And that's the frustrating side that we face, really, and that's partially because of the problems of where the ship was registered.
The official investigation has received loads of criticism, and Disney Wonder has even been accused of covering up her disappearance.
Just don't know what happened to her, do we? That's the worst.
Number 4, Zeb Quinn.
It's a loss without closure, with plenty of clues, but no resolution.
On January 2, 2000, 18-year-old Zeb Quinn met up with his friend Robert Owens. After Quinn received a notification on his pager, however, he appeared frantic and allegedly sped away in his car. 2 days later, after being treated at the hospital for injuries, Owens called in sick for Quinn.
It's very complex, as you've reported on. Mr. Owens was a person of interest in the Quinn disappearance from 2000, and those kind of things do make the case, it does make the case much more complicated.
On January 6th, Quinn's car was found abandoned with bizarre lipstick drawings on the back windshield and a live puppy stuck inside.
His mother has some hope he could have been kidnapped and is still alive.
In July 2017, Owens was charged with first-degree murder in the death of Quinn and is currently awaiting trial. He is also serving life in prison for ending the lives of the Food Network's Christy Schoen and her husband JT Codd in 2015.
We're able to bring Jason Owens to justice. He's removed from society. He's going to die in the custody of the state of North Carolina.
As for Quinn, his exact fate remains a mystery. Number 3, Harold Holt. In December 1967, Harold Holt was serving as the 17th Prime Minister of Australia. Holt was an avid outdoorsman but nearly 60 years old, and his personal doctor had recently advised him against swimming. On the afternoon of December 17, 1967, Holt went for a swim at Australia's Cheviot Beach, despite rough waters. He was quickly swept out to sea, and a massive search was undertaken in the area.
Rescuers trundled their way to the search scene from surrounding communities. Police and military divers deployed to Cheviot Beach by helicopter. Crowds silently lined the roadway.
Despite the country's best efforts, no one was able to find any trace of Holt. A governmental inquiry was never launched owing to the wishes of Holt's family. This detail, among other factors, has led to numerous conspiracy theories.
In Washington, where Secret Service men keep the president under strict surveillance, there was surprise that a prime minister could be allowed to swim without being closely watched.
Despite countless claims to the contrary, the official ruling stands that Holt died in a tragic drowning.
He had been claimed by the sea he knew and loved.
Number 2. D.B. Cooper. The story of D.B. Cooper is one of the most famous unsolved mysteries of all time. A story involving air theft, a cinematic escape, and an ambiguous outcome.
The identity of D.B. Cooper has been a mystery since November 24, 1971, when a man calling himself Dan Cooper hijacked and threatened to blow up a passenger jet flying from Portland to Seattle.
Cooper is the pseudonym of a man who hijacked a Boeing 727 in 1971 and extorted $200,000 in ransom. After securing the money, Cooper opened the door mid-flight and jumped out into the cold, dark night, never to be seen again.
Police believe he left the 727 in the flatlands of Oregon or Washington, but they are still looking in 4 states, even around the airport.
The only trace of Cooper remains a small cache of ransom bills that was recovered in 1980.
The portion of ransom money a family discovered buried in sand while camping along a sandbar, Tina Bar, in the Columbia River in 1980.
The rest of the money and DB himself remain missing. Many FBI agents claim that Cooper likely died in the jump, but then again, they could just be trying to save face.
While probability now points to D.B. Cooper's death, without hard evidence, many people today still believe that he survived.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Amelia Earhart. If there's one unsolved story more popular than that of D.B. Cooper, it's that of Amelia Earhart. Earhart was a popular and renowned aviator and the first woman to fly solo over the Atlantic.
The magnificent thing about Amelia is that in the eyes of the world, she never died. Her fear never witnessed, her failure never recorded.
In 1937, she and navigator Fred Noonan attempted to circumnavigate the globe. However, they disappeared over the Pacific near Hawaii and were never heard from again.
This grainy film records the last time Amelia Earhart and Fred Noonan are ever seen alive.
Countless theories have been put forth regarding their ultimate fate, but no consensus has ever been made.
Not a trace of wreckage was found floating. There was no mayday call. There was no distress call.
For 70 years, investigators have been trying to solve the Earhart enigma.
It's most likely that Earhart and Noonan ran out of fuel and crashed into the Pacific while desperately looking for Howland Island. It's a boring answer, but the most realistic often are. Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.